Alright, hey, what's up, everyone? This is Joshua with Ultimate Disc Golf. Hope everybody's having a great week. We're getting ready to do a release that's been in the works for about 2 months or so we're really excited about it. I'm going to be doing some final play testing tonight and kind of just making sure got the last little bugs and kind of everything tidied up before the release tomorrow. So, lots of cool stuff. I'm just going to hop right into it here. Before I do that, I'm going to pull up the chat real quick. Okay, so if you've joined us before for some of the streams for the game, you might notice a couple things on the stream now. So we've got a controller kind of input on the lower right hand side, and we also have the chat box set up for all of our different streaming platforms that we're going through, so kind of everybody can see what everybody else is saying. Okay. Alright, here we go. So one thing real quick, if you played the game before, the main menu that we had has been completely revamped, and this one now is game controller friendly / compatible. I'm just going to cycle through some of the new options and stuff like that real quick. So some of these little preview images, we're going to be finishing those up tonight, but you can see what some of these are going to look like right here. So that's the lens flares, and that's some of the reflections. Just going to go ahead and leave all that as it is. Looks like it's working pretty good. So right now, this is the only part of the menu system where you still need to use a mouse, and we're hoping to finish that up for tomorrow's release. Okay, I guess we'll wait for this to load for a second. So if you played any of the recent versions of the game, you'll know that we only had the females custom characters active in the most recent version. So we've been working really hard to get that all updated, and we have a whole new custom character system. So this is just one of the guys here. So pretty much all the options are there. You can load any of the custom characters before any round that you start. You might notice that it turned to night pretty quickly. So one last thing we were doing is we were able to actually squeeze in kind of finalizing some of the nighttime rounds. So you can see here we have light on the basket itself, and we have a proper glow disc here. Okay, I'm going to test out a couple of the menus here. Make sure that's working so we can pause and resume. I'll head back to the main menu. So as you can see on the main menu here, it will load the last custom character that you use for a round kind of automatically. Okay, I think we'll switch to a forehand. Thank you, Defiance. It's definitely come a long way. It's just been kind of a one step at a time process, so appreciate that positive feedback. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and test out the teleport. So that's going to be a left trigger. So as you can see on this kind of desert, Dusty Canyon is the name of the course. Got a little bit more of a sun hazard if you kind of look directly at it. That was not great. Probably just going to be hopping around different courses, so probably after I do some more testing, I'll kind of maybe try to do a full round here. So if you're wondering why it takes a little bit to load right now, so this what I'm running and what you're seeing on your screen is what we call an unpackaged version of the game. So it's basically running it like the dev side version. So you see some of the little outputs on the top left hand side of the screen, and also it's not really packaged for quick loading times. So when we package it up and then we put it somewhere like Steam, typically the load times are a lot faster. Okay, I think I'm just gonna throw putter on this one. It's pretty short hole. That's very cool that you've worked with Unity Define. So we do use Unity some for not really any big projects, but it's definitely a very cool engine and platform as well. For this game, in particular, we're using Unreal Engine. So sometimes we have a new camera system that will kind of prevent clipping and making foliage kind of block the view of the player. I notice on the spin putt, it can kind of clip into the player, so might need to improve that a little bit. It's definitely a lot better than what we had in the previous, excuse me, the previous version. So I'm pretty sure we still have to fix the water on the very first hole in this course. One of the reasons that it took a bit longer between the upcoming release tomorrow and the last release is that we actually made the jump from Unreal Engine 4.22 to 4.24. And that was a pretty big decision for a game that we had already been working on for about 2 years. We tried to wait as long as we could to make sure all the plugins were compatible, but we didn't want to wait too long before the game was in a much more finalized state before we tried to make that jump. So that's given us a huge performance boost on quite a bit of the shader compiling, some of the stuff that happens in the background. So this course in particular, even on our dev computer here, still needed optimization, and just updating to this more recent version of Unreal Engine, basically those things that happen in the background, we're running, I would say, close to twice as quick on this course, with still some more optimizations to do down the road. Thank you, HD. Appreciate that. So one of the reasons I mentioned that update is that looks like the water on this first lake has basically just dried up on us, I guess. we kind of saved that for last because it should be a simple fix. We're going to be fixing that up tonight before tomorrow's release. Ooh, I'm not sure if that's going to make it. It's going to be close. Yeah, that's kind of what I was just mentioning. HD just asked that the frame rate is better. And we still have some optimizations to do once we kind of officially get to beta. We're going to be doing a lot less in features and a lot more in kind of prepping the game for consoles and also performance enhancements. But just the update from, like I said, Unreal Engine 4.22 to 4.24 gave us a big leap in frame rates without really having to do too much. Let me see if I can run some. So I think I have all the settings on high, and I'm running a GTX 1070 with the frame rate locked at 30, and it's pretty much consistent at 30 with everything on high. And I'd say before we updated on this course, which is the newest course and had the least optimizations, I would be running it like 20 to 25. So let me see if I can unlock the frame rate here. Okay, so about the same. That was horrible. We really appreciate that, HD. I don't know that, we try to be humble and not necessarily compare ourselves to anybody else that's out there. We definitely think that there's some other great games out there that are trying to do kind of the same thing that we're trying to do for the sport, and that's put it in front of more people's eyes and let them kind of get to know it through this digital experience. And I hope we can be up there when people talk about like the best disc golf games. When we get to kind of the final version, I would hope that we have something that is a lot of fun for everybody. Defined status if we're working on it full time, and yeah, we're essentially working on this full time. We do have some other side projects here at Tree and projects that are kind of related to game development, maybe not exactly. Like, so we're doing some things for virtual production, but this is kind of the main game that we're working on, and I'm the lead developer, and I would say I'm putting in about 20 to 25 hours a week on the game, and that'll be probably the same until at least the end of the year is when we're kind of hoping to have things pretty close to like production ready as far as past beta and everything. Ooh, a little help on the roll. I'm not putting so good tonight. So let's go look at the water, because obviously my throwing is not going anywhere fast. So I'm pretty happy with the performance of the water. If you notice, I turn around to these big chestnut trees. That's when I'm getting a little bit of a dip in frame rate. So that's something, kind of put on the back burner list. Appreciate the follow Defiance. That's awesome. As far as the price goes, we are in early access on Steam if you haven't been by the Steam page. So during alpha and beta, we're going to have the game at a steep discount before the final version comes out. So kind of the earlier you grab it, the cheaper it'll be for you. And I appreciate you letting other people know about it. Right now the game is single player, but we do have plans for online multiplayer. A lot of the pieces are actually in place, kind of underneath the hood. Let's see. Thank you, HD. That's very humbling. Said he already bought it, so we appreciate the support. So I've looked at a lot of golf games slash what disc golf games are out there in terms of multiplayer, and it's not going to be an easy process. We've started it, but we have, I think, a very unique game plan for what multiplayer could be. So we don't want a multiplayer experience where you only see what's happening on for your disc. So if you look at Disc Golf Valley, which is an awesome game, when you do the multiplayer, you're kind of only seeing your disc, and then it kind of shows you the multiplayer scores when you're in a group. One thing that we plan to do is actually more of like everybody's on the same course. So when you create a character, you can see, everybody else can see your character. You're walking around the course, you get matched up, and you can see other people's disc flying. So this is going to be a pretty cool experience. Like I said, it's going to be a challenge, but we're excited to take on that challenge. We do have a little surprise as far as new discs. HD, he's asking if there's going to be any more available with this update. There's not going to be a ton of new ones, but I can say that we wanted to make sure that the nighttime rounds were actually usable. So when you do the round configuration, you set it to nighttime. I got the glow discs as far as the putter, mid-range, and driver. So those three will be available, and then we've got a lot more planned, but this update was really more about this new menu system, kind of a new animation system underneath the hood, and a whole bunch of other things. So we do have the glow discs in there, so that should be fun for everybody. It's a long run. Oh, get down. Thanks for that question. HD is asking if there will be in-game purchases, and that will be pretty far down the road. So one thing that we've kind of talked about internally here is kind of the state of gaming, so to speak, in terms of microtransactions and things like that. And one thing we did not want to do with this game is fill it with a bunch of microtransactions before we'd really built something that was kind of a long-lasting, well worth it investment as a gamer. So we plan to make sure that there's a ton of content that comes with the stock core game, and make sure that experience is rock solid for players. And people want to tell other people about it and say, for the price, you're getting a ton of stuff to do, and it's a great experience. Then once we've done that, hopefully, we will have the ability to purchase different outfits, different discs, and maybe eventually a full DLC pack, which would maybe include 3 new courses and a range of different discs and backpacks and other gear for your characters. So that's kind of the game plan. And I'd say right now we're getting there step by step. So okay, let's see. So HD is asking what time the release will be tomorrow. The plan is between 12 and 1 p.m. Central Time, which is our time zone here. I'll be probably grinding pretty late tonight after the stream is over, just to make sure we've kind of crossed the T's, dotted the I's, gone over everything with a fine-tooth comb and whatever other analogy I can throw at it. Just to make sure that it's as good as possible. There's always stuff you wish you could get into every release that ends up not making it, but this one is, I think, pretty solid at this point, and not too much more we can do until we kind of start adding the next round of features and stuff. So as long as I can get everything I need to done tonight, first thing in the morning, it basically gets packaged up, sent to Steam, hopefully available for all players, right around lunchtime. Oh. like to see a little bit better edge effects on this water. So the water and the sand looks good, but right here. Welcome if you're just joining us. Again, my name's Joshua with Ultimate Disc Golf, lead developer and right now playtester for the new release comes out tomorrow. So with this new version comes kind of a new sky system that was just implemented in Unreal Engine 4.24, and that's called the Sky Atmosphere. And right now I'm definitely digging it. So kind of this view here, you can see that the atmosphere definitely scatters more realistically on those trees that are further back, and as the light comes forward towards the player. That is definitely an improvement in this version. Okay, I'm going to duck out of this level real quick. So if you played the game before, you might notice that we've kind of thrown some kind of intro music, a little rock and roll. Eventually, we're hoping to have a little bit more of a well-rounded soundtrack that as you open the game, it'll just kind of cycle through some of the different tracks that we have. Alright, let's see if I can actually work on getting a decent score here. Usually a putter will work pretty good for this first hole. So you might notice on the celebration there when you get a birdie, the old animation system in the previous release, you essentially had to wait for the whole celebration animation to finish before you could kind of continue on to the next hole. We have kind of a whole new layered animation system, so you can see he kind of pumps his arm there. You can actually move your character as you would normally, and the celebration kind of only affects that right arm. And so that's kind of what layered animation is. So we've implemented a lot of that for this release. Hopefully that kind of helps keep up the pace of play. That's a pretty cool idea, HD, saying, hope you implement a team system like other games that have clans. But the teams have leaderboards, that would be fun. Okay, so we're definitely going to have stats and leaderboards. Kind of adding teams to the mix seems like a pretty cool idea. I'm not sure what it would take to implement that yet, but we kind of already have stats and leaderboards kind of working underneath the hood. We've done some internal testing with it, but I think teams would add a pretty cool layer. That'd be cool. We will definitely talk about that internally and make sure to get some feedback if we start to pursue that. Okay, 278. I think a mid-range will probably work best for this hole. Okay, so there's my mid-range. No, not that high. About right there. Oh! Ooh, that was a close one. Oh, oh man. Turned a almost ace into a par. So that feels like the real round. Okay, so on this course I kind of have the day-night system kind of pacing a little quicker, so we should be able to see the basket lights come on here very soon. There it is. So we have a dynamic day-night system, and we also have a dynamic lighting system. So with a few simple functions in Unreal Engine, all the lights on the course over every basket will essentially turn on automatically during this sunset slash sunrise event. They'll turn back off at sunrise. Okay, we'll go ahead and put on this glow driver. I'm going to put with the driver. All right. Might be a little hard. Let's see. Oh! No love on the weak side. That's okay. HD is asking if you'll be able to carry more than 5. So right now I actually have, there's 6 on my quick bar here, but you can't actually carry more than 5, so it's kind of by weight. It's kind of hard to see right now, but there's actually more boxes than just these 4. So if you just hit I on the keyboard, we still have to make this feature work with game controllers, but if you just switch over to the keyboard real quick for now, you can switch out these. So in the version tomorrow, you'll basically be starting out with, I think 12 discs, yeah. So you can switch those out, and these should auto-save about every 10 seconds or so. So as far as how many you can carry in here, right now we just have it pegged to, it's basically by weight, and it'll add more items. Hopefully once we kind of finalize more of like an ability system where you can kind of upgrade as you kind of progress through the game, you'll be able to increase that kind of bag space, so that way you can carry more bags as you progress. Or carry more discs in your bag, sorry. Okay. That was spot on. So we've actually improved the scoreboard here. Check that out real quick. It's looking good. Bummer. I think it's light enough I can throw my putter again. Let's try this one. So if you played the game before, you might notice that we have a little bit more proper sound effects for when you kind of ding off the basket or the pole underneath. Actually, same thing for any of the trees. Go ahead, I'll hit this tree on purpose here if I can. Okay, let's see. We'll see how that goes. Well, everything's looking pretty good so far. Notice just a couple odds and ends I'll need to clean up here tonight. Hopefully this will get far enough. Oh, so close so far. I almost don't even care right now. This nighttime round is actually pretty fun. It's the first time I've ever really gotten to kind of do a full night round because we just finished it up. Thought that might hit a tree there for a second. Well, that was not great, but we finished a round at least. Just to show you, so when you finish a round now, the scoreboard comes up, and the old scoreboard actually would not kind of allow you to replay or quit. You had to pull up the pause menu. So that's one thing that we had quite a few requests for. So now when you finish a round, the scoreboard comes up. It has a replay and quit kind of right there at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and test that out real quick. The plan is to extend the scoreboards even further to show some of your stats for that course in particular. For now, that'll mainly be Steam, but as we get onto consoles and everything, we're going to be utilizing the plan is anyway to utilize Epic online services, so we'll actually have kind of cross-play stats. So whatever platform you're on, it'll show the right stats. Yeah, Steven, we're on, he's asking if we're on Twitch too. So right now we're on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Mixer while it's still up, I guess. Daily Motion, I think maybe one or two other. I think we're on Periscope right now too. So yeah, we're going through Restream, kind of lets us multicast out. Really glad you could join us, Steve. Thanks for being here. Yeah, Steve, we definitely changed the putting a bit. I think we still might enhance it a little bit more, but I think it's a lot. The overall, the power meter itself, I think, is simpler, but still retains a bit of a challenge without being kind of confusing. It's definitely more straightforward. So basically, it's kind of a 3-click scenario. Click once to bring up the aim. Click once to start the power meter, and then you have until it goes up and down to click it that third time to get your power. One big thing with the putting that probably looks different is we no longer use the disc follow cam for putting. Really far away putts, I think we need to have maybe some kind of zoom effect, but it's definitely a lot better for those kind of like in the circle or just outside the circle putts, because you get a much better view of that disc going into the basket. Where before, when you're putting, it was kind of like you're so close to the basket, by the time it switched to the follow cam and then switched back, you were kind of really barely able to see what was going on. So definitely a little bit more satisfying now. That's something we had a lot of people mention, and we wanted to make sure we made it into this release. I'll probably do a couple more rounds here. Try to answer anybody else's questions before the release comes out, and then call it a night. And as far as the stream goes, then try to finish up the last remaining items on our list. There's one right there. So with a lot of the whole preview signs, you kind of see this little checker pattern here. We've been going through and switching out all the textures from the last release to this one to use what we call an emissive color. Basically what that does is it'll make sure that in like low light or like the evening or early morning that you can still see that texture, where before it was really only in the afternoon you could see those well, is what we noticed. So we went through every single one, set a new master material for the textures that they use, so that way we can set an emissive color that kind of controls all of them so they show up. So this one still has to be put back in, as you can see. Say we got about 90% of them done right now. I think this is the last course that we have to put them back in before tomorrow. A couple other little things from the last release. We now have proper impact effects as far as the particles, and the sound effect for when the disc hits the sand, which this level has. That's going to be way too hard. Whatever. Great start. Now, we're definitely not offensive to suggest anything, Steve. That's really what's going to make the game in the end. So we definitely appreciate that. Yeah, so we are definitely going to have achievements for unlocking content. Um, so right now, since we're in alpha, we kind of wanted to get the opportunity to get feedback on kind of a good range of disc flight. So, stable, overstable, understable, basic driver, mid-range putter. So we've had all those built out. And right now, if you get the game, you get access to basically all the ones that we have finished at this point. Um, Once we get done with alpha, probably sometime halfway through beta, we're not sure the exact date, we'll probably kind of clear a lot of that stuff out for players once we have the achievement stuff kind of ready to turn on for whatever release that happens to be that achievements get implemented. So, we've already started on those achievements in the back end, but there's going to have to still be some more testing. But once we do, we'll kind of clear that out, and then those achievements will go towards those discs, some of which players who have played the earliest versions of the game will have already seen, but now it's kind of a little bit more of how it will work, in the end. So that way we can just start adding more and more designs and different cool discs, and maybe some with some special effects, whatever people happen to like. Okay, there it is. See if I can make it over there. That's why you don't putt a driver. Stephen, if you're still out there, I'm not sure if you've already joined, but we definitely welcome you to join the Ultimate Disc Golf Discord. It's up on our itch page and also up on our Steam page, the invite for that. But let me know if you need me to link it or anything, because we'd definitely love to hear any other suggestions that you have now or in the future. Yeah, Steve, I definitely think there's some pretty cool opportunities for how disc golf works as a sport inherently. So one thing I always enjoyed about it, and if you've seen a stream of ours before, I've mentioned this, but um, I always was attracted to the outdoor experience of disc golf. So getting to walk the courses and kind of be in nature, and a lot of the courses that you can find. Um, we wanted to bring that experience over to this game, and that's one of the reasons that we kind of have this semi-open world. Now, we've had a lot of people say, they would actually rather have the teleporting. So, if you play the game, you know that we kind of already have it to where you can teleport. So, kind of hoping to have the best of both worlds there. Hopefully, people that kind of grew up with that same experience, or that was the reason for them to go play disc golf, was kind of the enjoying the scenery, so to speak. Hopefully, they'll get some enjoyment out of this experience. So right now I'm just kind of testing out some of the scenery for kind of this nighttime round. Again, I said this was one of the last things we finished up for this release. So I'm kind of curious, just how does the atmosphere look? How does the height fog here, that you can kind of see how the far terrain has a kind of foggy overlay. Right now, I think it looks pretty good. Did notice that the stars are a little bit hard to see on this course as opposed to one of the other courses, so we might need to adjust that. Okay. I've opened this and closed this a bunch of times. It looks like it's starting to kind of slow down on me with the stream. So I'm going to kind of refresh everything before I kind of get back to development. So I think we're going to wrap it up as far as the stream goes. Thank you, everyone, for coming out for a little bit and hanging out while we kind of celebrate the next release. And appreciate all the support along the way. We're getting closer and closer to what that vision of ours was. I'm going to read this last question from Steve here. Oh, yeah, he's kind of suggesting maybe a mini putt-putt game. We've definitely thought about, how can we do some kind of like little mini game or side game that integrates well. So we'll put that on the list of ones that we're thinking over, Steve. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And you're welcome. He says appreciate the stream and the game you all are producing. So we're definitely doing it for the community. We're an indie studio, and this has definitely been a passion project. I've been disc golfing for about 20 years, so I definitely hope that we can make it what everybody kind of wants to see in the end. So again, good night, everybody. The new release will be coming out tomorrow. Definitely check it out on it'll be up on Steam first, and then by the next day after that, it'll be up for free on itch.io. Again, we kind of make sure during alpha that we have a way to access it for free if you want to try it out before getting it through early access. So again, good night, everybody. Thanks again.